Welcome to another episode of Croc Talk TV. I'm your host, former NFL and AFL defensive back, Eric Crocker. And on today's episode, we are going to be joined by Darius Butler, 9-year NFL pro defensive back. We're going to just really his path and a lot of behind-the-scenes things that went into, him being able to have a really long and productive NFL career. All right, so before we get started, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button right now. Make sure you guys hit that like button right now. Subscribe, like, all that good stuff. Share the podcast, retweet it out, all that. All right. But with no further ado, let me bring on my guy Darius. And funny thing, real quick, y'all. Darius,
you see him repping his blue.
We got on here, we were matching, and I got my red 49er hat on. He had a red hat on, and he was like, "Nah, I can't be matching you, not with that whack 49er stuff." So he took off, came back with the blue, the Colts blue, the Nipsey blue hat.
Hey,
so
know.
That's what's up. So before we really get started into everything, I kind of like to do like a little drip test. All right. And me, obviously you see me tweet out a lot of times about guys drip, and there are a lot of guys that's looking bad. I just had DJ Reed. DJ Reed, he's a DB. He started last year, good amount of games for the Seahawks, but he was drafted by the Niners a few years ago. And when he first got into the league, it was bad. Big number 40 on. He had the big jersey. He had it was the Revo Speed with the 1 bar here and like real nasty. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I had tweeted him, and I'm like, bro, you got to do something about this. He don't know me from nothing, but I'm telling him, you got to do something about this because this is bad. And he was like, I'm never switching it up.
You're looking out right there.
Yeah, I'm looking out. So eventually he got his swag right, and now he looks clean. He out there. So we got to share the screen real quick. All right, and I'm going to get into your drip, one picture, and we kind of going to grade it just a little bit. All right, here we go.
What year is it from? Let me see.
Boom, right here. Okay, so we're going to break it down real quick, y'all, okay? I'm looking, and you guys know I'm really particular with this stuff, and I seen him with the all white. Okay, he got the Dickerson face mask with the Oakley visor. Okay.
I'm not even really a high white type of guy.
You okay, but I'm saying if you are gonna wear the high white, you scrunched it up, so that's good look.
Yeah,
got the subtle blue, and then the double shooter sleeves. But the thing that really kind of set it off to me, you got the blue and black gloves with the blue and black boots, and I'm like, okay, this is clearly a guy who pays attention to his swag and is very intentional with how you did it. So
it was enough. You gotta go back to that screen share real quick though.
Okay, hold on.
To that old. Does that Patriot picture show my cleats?
Okay, hold on. Let me go. Where's it at?
Because I was early on the custom cleat wave.
Right here.
Oh no, it's you can't see it. I was on the custom cleats back in the day.
I went right here, but this ain't the custom.
Nah, those ain't cut. Nah, that's training camp. That was spatted. I'm just trying to,
yeah. But there were some other ones that I saw and I liked. You know what I'm saying? Even like this.
Okay,
right
you
here.
see the towel right there. You see see that's because I was early on the cusp. See, that was my typical thing. I was usually a high blue, like mostly blue, probably 90+% blue, low white, black ankle tape. Under it was low. That was usually my combo, and that's a finable offense right there. Usually,
it is. And I will say I like the subtle white. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like the little subtle
Low
white
white.
showing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a fan of it. So we had to kind of start this show off and jump in there and talk about the drip just a little bit. It wouldn't be right if I didn't bring it up, but you definitely passed the test. I'm like, okay, he's clean out here. But aside from all that, let's get into a lot of kind of what went into you really becoming a professional athlete. And I noticed right away when I was looking everything up, you were born in Germany. You were born in Germany.
Yeah.
So Pops was in the military.
Yeah, military brat, Army brat. Pops originally from Miami. Mom and dad originally from Miami, actually. He grew up, in his day, he didn't really have the opportunity to go out there and chase a sports dream, right? He was athletic. He played in the street, but he was working jobs for, since he was in his teens. So as 18, when he graduated, he went to the military. He was stationed out in Germany, in Frankfurt to be exact. And that's when I was born back in March of '86. Coming over. Yeah, so we came over here, moved to San Diego, I think when I was 3, maybe 3 and some change. and then moved back to South Florida when I was around 6. So I pretty much grew up in South Florida, and you know how what football means to South Florida and how we give it up down here. So I was playing football from a jit.
So what I want to know is, how does a kid from South Florida end up going to UConn? Was that maybe one of the only offers you got, or because I went from California to the South to the South, and that was a huge culture shock for me. I know it's probably even a bigger culture shock going from Florida all the way to Northeast.
Yeah, so when I was young, man, I always dreamed about playing for UConn. Yeah, right. Like I didn't even know where Connecticut was on a map. The first time I actually saw UConn, they came down. My older cousin, Willis McGay, he played for U, and UConn actually came down and played them. Might have been in the Orange Bowl at that time. And that was the first time I even knew UConn football existed. Before that, I just knew Ray Allen. I knew Rip just from the Big East basketball, but I had no intentions of going up to UConn and play football. My dream school's the U. I always thought I would grow up, go to the U maybe for 3 years, and then go to the league first round. Like that was the plan. Once I even put my mind on football, because honestly, basketball is my first love. And I got an older brother, 5.5 years older than me, so he always had me in the gyms and the open rec, playing with the older guys. So basketball was my thing. Played football in the street as well, but I didn't really start playing organized football until my junior year in high school. And then that's a whole nother story. I went to a small high school, a charter school, after, getting some trouble in middle school. Parents pulled me out, homeschooled me for a year. So halfway through my 9th grade year, I got enrolled in this charter school. And, as you know, when you're building programs in high school, football is one of the toughest programs to build because you need more resources, you need more people. So I didn't go out and play till my junior year. And, from the gate, I performed well, but not too many. This was before social media and Huddle and YouTube, where you can just put your stuff out there, everybody check you out. Somebody really had to come out here and find you. So thankfully enough, I had a connection through my high school coach to Terry Richardson, who was recruiting the South Florida area at UConn. They were the first D1 team to get on me. So that's kind of how I've kind of flew under the radar down here and found my way up to UConn.
So I actually heard about you being a hooper. My guy, Rich Ranglin, he had messaged me. He was like, hey, he used to come to my school and hoop, right? So
where at?
I don't know. He didn't even say. He just said that was exactly what he put.
Okay.
He used to come to the school and hoop. And I saw your videos that you posted because somebody tried to play you on the hoop stuff. I saw you, post you knocking down Jays and stuff. And I'm watching it. And I'm like,
they don't want smoke.
What people don't realize about, especially football players and stuff, like, man, we're real athletes. I just started playing adult softball, right? I ain't no baseball player, but these dudes start seeing me flying around and they got me in center field and I'm catching everything and they're like, damn, like, you sure you ain't play baseball? And I'm like, no, but I'm an athlete. Like, you know what I'm saying? And so I see you out there hooping. Somebody, they definitely try to play you, but you was out there getting buckets, knocking down threes, taking to the rack. I'm like, okay, he looked like he really did this.
Yeah, I can go out there in that court. I love the basketball. I love competing in basketball. And sometimes you have football players, and then you got athletes who play football. I would consider myself an athlete who played football. My younger brother, he's a football player. He's gonna hit you in the mouth. He's gonna play safety. In other sports, he's gonna do his thing. But it's all right. But I'm an athlete, and most football players, especially DBs, most DBs I know, good ones, they usually can hold their own in that court. And you look at the guys who are active now, Honey Badger, good basketball player. Joe Hayden, very good basketball player. Pat Peake can hoop. Revis was a great hooper. Just a lot of these guys, Casey Hayward, a lot of these guys that you can see on the court, you can see it translate to that field, because playing corner, a lot of times it's like playing point guard at the top of the key. Like, if you can defend a crossover, you can probably defend a release. So I always tell these young kids, man, especially on like high school level and lower, if you play multiple sports, man, play them. You can learn something from every sport.
So we touched a little bit about, you kind of being an Army brat, Pops, you're born in Germany and everything. Were there certain levels of things that he kind of instilled in you as somebody like with the military background, maybe some discipline or anything that maybe helped you become, an overall better athlete and maybe be more disciplined with like academics or, really just everything your kind of walk of life?
Yeah, man. They just my parents were just so supportive. You know what I mean? They were just always there. And obviously I went a completely different path than my pops. My pops went military, law enforcement, and now they do their thing in real estate. So he didn't have he couldn't give me much guidance there, but the things that he instilled in me, I could have went on and did anywhere, doing anything. It's just discipline, being accountable, not making excuses, and showing up when you need to show up, and obviously treating people the right way. They always talk, hey, the same people you see on your way up, you're gonna see on your way down. So never treat people differently or bad. So on those things that they instilled in me, man, I carry with me to this day. But from my pops, it was the work ethic, the consistency, the grind that he had, and from my mom is always been like you can't really put her in a box. Like you can tell her something and she's like, oh, I can do that, but I'm gonna do it, kind of this way. And I kind of took that into my football career as well, because everywhere you go, people do things a certain way. I went to college, I returned kicks. I played DB, and in my senior year, I played DB and wide receiver. I went to a game as a backup quarterback. Actually, came into the league, playing corner. And then later on in my career, I was able to transition to nickel, playing the slot. And then my last 2 years, I played safety. So, just always been able to adapt, always trying to learn from other people. And so I can't thank, my parents and the things that they instilled in me enough.
What was it like going from Florida to UConn? Was there big culture shock or anything? Were the people different? I know the weather, all that type of stuff. Like, how'd you handle all that?
Man, so if you've never been to South Florida, I mean, it's pretty much, I wouldn't say summer year round, but I mean, it's nice weather, year round. We make it a couple weeks, maybe a month with like a little cold front to us, which is like 60s cats out here with bubble coats on. And it's crazy. Yeah. But outside of that, man, you grow up with great weather. I'm talking about Christmas morning, you open your toys, you get a bike or something, you outside with a t-shirt on. Like, year round playing football. That's why so many football players that probably come from down here. And then it's a melting pot. The demographic is just in South Florida, especially. Now you go north of, probably Palm Beach is kind of a different Florida. But when you're down here in, Palm Beach County, Broward County, Dade County, it's such a melting pot of people. You got people from the Caribbean, you got a lot of people from New York, you got people from all over the country and all over the world kind of in the same place, speaking different languages. So you kind of learn how to deal with different people in different environments. And then you go up to Storrs, Connecticut. And, if you went to a predominantly white university, PWI, you know kind of what you get in a lot of the classes. Once I was, past the generic stuff, it wouldn't be crazy to be one of maybe two black people in the class. And then the education system going from South Florida, because we do have a lot of different barriers down here, whether it be language, whether it be different things. Our school system isn't the best, the public school system. So when you go up to Connecticut, where their school system is better, kind of coming out of the gate, I knew I wasn't as prepared. So I had to double down and study hard, pick things up, and just really pay attention to it, and not, because my parents would never let me forget about that athlete part of being a student athlete. So, but the people were great, man. The people in Connecticut were great. I had a great experience in Connecticut. Learned a lot, learned how to deal with different types of people. I think that's what I take mostly from my college experience, is just learning how to deal with different people. So yeah, it was a great experience and then the athletic community was so tight, the football players, the basketball players, women's basketball, soccer, like we were all tight. All the athletes kind of lived in the same area. So a lot of those people, I'm still Renee Montgomery, still close friends with her. We connect and do things all the time. And just Dan Orlowski, Rudy Gay, they had him on the podcast. So just all these people that you have these lifelong connections with. That college is my best friend. I met him in college, Tavon Branch, who went on to play 10 years in the league.
Yeah, play with the Raiders.
You probably know, him out there in Oakland, out there in the Bay. So those connections you make in college, man, those are lifelong. And I love my experience at UConn.
So what was it like being at a school that's predominantly a basketball school, right? Like football is kind of little brothers to UConn. It's not just their basketball or women's basketball, which everybody knows how well and dominant they've been. But really, I mean, the men's basketball team, because I remember being young and watching Rip Hamilton and Khalid El-Amin and these guys like really just get off. at UConn. So what was it like kind of being there and like knowing what the basketball program meant, but maybe the football program not be as big?
Yeah, so going into, when you pick, I know for me, I was looking for the best opportunity, to get to where I want to go next level. And actually later on in my recruiting process, after I played an all-star game down here, we got a Broward Day all-star game, which is like all the kids from, the best players from the Fort Lauderdale Broward area against the Miami-Dade area. And I played well in that game, and a lot more scouts, a lot more people, all of a sudden I had some scholarship openings. But I kind of stuck to the guys who were with me from the jump. I felt like they had a plan. I had grown to know Coach Richardson, I had grown to know Coach Etzel and Coach Lakatos at the time, so the relationship was already built. So getting up there, man, they were both, I think the women's team and the men's team were just coming off a national championship.
Yeah.
I was Emeka Okafor and Ben Gordon had just won their natty, and who knows what championship it was for the 04 women's. So, like you said, we were a little brother not only to the men's basketball, but women's basketball as well. But we were going into, Dan Orlowski had kind of put us on the map. We were going into the Big East. We were now a Division I program full time. So I knew I would be playing against, good talent. I knew I would be playing against Pittsburgh, West Virginia, Rutgers, these schools, Syracuse, week in and week out. So I knew I was going to be an opportunity. As long as I would ball, I knew they'll come find me, just like they came and found me down here at Cold Springs Charter. So getting there and being a part of, I wouldn't necessarily say creating a culture, because like I said, Dan Orlowski, Karan Henry, and a bunch of other names that came be Alfred Fincher, a bunch of other names at UConn that came before me kind of laid that standard, that foundation, but we built upon that. And, we became ranked in the BCS for the first time when I was there. Wow. I was a captain. I was voted captain as a junior. And that's when I really, because coming into it, I was never a big fan of the weight room. I wasn't a big fan of off-season workouts. Like my off-seasons consisted of me hooping and going to classes. And those college workouts weren't mandatory. So a lot of times I honestly didn't go, which was crazy in college. Like, well, yeah, not showing up. But when I showed up for, once we needed to show up and we had the conditioning test and all that, I would always be, front of the lines, top of the list. So they weren't really concerned. And the coaches knew when I showed up to play, I was going to play. But when I got voted as a captain as a junior, and that was the year we got ranked, that's when I had to take, more responsibility as, it's not just about what's going to have me in the best position to be the best player, but guys are looking up to me now. I'm a leader. I got to show up in these off-season workouts. I got to push people. I got to do different things. So, and then also we had some issues internally as far as the locker room, and coaches had to be in there all the time, worry about cats being late or missing class or missing training table or, BSing and workouts and all these type of things. And I'm like, look, man, if we're going to be good, the coaches got to worry about football. We got to worry about and police ourselves. So me, DJ Hernandez, Keith Gray, Larry Taylor, Danny Lansana, and Dan Davis, we were the captains, and we kind of took ownership of that. Tavon Branch as well, that team. And when we got ranked, went to a few bowl games, kind of put UConn on the map nationally, on a national level. When I got drafted, we had 4 guys that were drafted in the first 2 rounds, which was crazy. Like my pro day, we had representatives from every program. Bill Belichick was there. So it was something that you had never seen at UConn. And so it was amazing being a part of that train. It was different than going to a University of Miami or USC or Alabama, something that's already stapled into everybody in college football. So building up on that, it was dope.
Yeah, and I've kind of seen, some DBs in kind of more recent years come out of UConn. You had Byron Jones.
Yep.
You had
Robert McClain.
McClain. You got one right now, Jeremy Lucien, who I like. I've been able to work with him. With Jeremy, he's out there rocking number 21. He should be eligible to come out like next year or so. So we'll see what happens. But you guys kind of started that whole thing of guys really kind of getting looked at UConn because, like I said, it's been more of a basketball school. What was your drafting kind of experience? Just going through the process of it. Like, did they tell you where you might potentially get drafted, and what maybe teams were thinking about you being smaller, right? And when I say smaller, just not a 6'1", 6'2" cornerback, which was kind of starting to get a little bit popular around that time. What was your draft kind of just leading up to draft day? What was that experience like?
So my junior year and going into UConn, which a lot of people didn't come into UConn thinking like, hey, it's the pipeline to the NFL as a DB or any position. But that was my mindset regardless. That was kind of my whole class's mindset, honestly. So we were playing against good competition. We were playing Ray Rice's and seeing Revis and, Kenny Britt's, Taquan. Like, we were playing good talent week in and week out. So I kind of knew where I stood against a lot of guys who were going to be playing on Sundays. Now, I wasn't in the Big 10 or the Big 12 or those bigger programs who were playing on TV a lot more. So a lot more of those guys had more hype coming into it. And, like, it's not like today's media. Today's media, almost anybody from anywhere, if you're doing your thing, you can be out here, you can be exposed, but we weren't getting that type of exposure at first. So it was still kind of like, okay, he's balling at UConn, but we're not sure if he's still going to be what he thinks he is. So, just had to show up in the big games, and then post that college career, it was all about working out. I had the chance to go work out with Deion Sanders. He reached out to me during my senior. Actually, let me rewind. So after my junior year, I had a good junior year. Was thinking about coming out. I had my daughter on the way, sent in my paperwork to the NFL to give me a grade on myself. Basically, the NFL tells you, hey, you could be ranked. They told me 4th or 5th round. And then the people I was talking to at the time were like, hey, usually they'll give you a round or two later because they want guys to come back to school. So I knew I would be a good combine guy. So I thought, best case scenario that year, I'll probably go like late 2nd, maybe 3rd round, because that was a deep corner class. That was DRC, Kaysen, Chris Houston. I think like 6 corners might have went 1st round that year. So I came back to school, and I also worked out a deal with my coach. Hey, if I come back, I want to play receiver too. So did that, showed that. And then in the post career, the draft part, I mean, it was really just grind. Got a chance to go work out with Deion. And it wasn't so much with Deion.
We got to talk about that. Hold on real quick.
Yeah.
Was that like televised?
It was. Well,
don't tell me you were the guy. Hold on. Don't tell me you were the guy that got on the bench press and did 40. It was like a 45 on each side.
That was your boy. That was your boy. See? So I told you, man, the weight, now in college, what I would tell guys too, the weight room, like that squat rack. I fell in love with the squat rack in college, and that helped me not only with explosiveness, but being able to tackle and being a smaller guy, like you said, you got to have a strong, at least lower body. And I had good functional strength up top. But Deion, and he was the guy I looked up to coming up. He's the guy that made you play cornerback. So I remember him back in the day, man. Hey, a receiver never laid across my chest for me to bench press him. So that kind of stuck with me, man. I got long arms. Bench press kind of always been tough for me. I think on my best day, I could have probably went to the combine and did 10 reps, probably on my best day on the 225 bench. So I was like, man, I ain't gonna do it. I had in my mind, I ain't gonna do it. And so in that show, Deion reached out, and I couldn't believe when my coach told me he reached out initially during the season. I'm like, stop playing, man. Deion. So got on the phone with him, talked, man. He was giving me game throughout my senior year. And I went out there in Dallas, and I forgot what the show was called, but it was on NFL Network. And I'll think about it, but it was me, Captain Munnerlin, Liddell Sargent, Emmanuel Cook out of South Carolina. We had a lot of guys up there, and Cap went and played a long time in the league as well. But it was fun, man. But he showed us, man, like off the field stuff, like, taking care of his money, realizing, how frugal he was, even being Deion Primetime Sanders with his money and the smart investments that he was doing and things along that. And then how hard he studied and what he put into the game. Because you look at Deion and you just think, oh, he's just a naturally freakish, gifted athlete. He would just have to show up and play. And just seeing like how much study time and how much preparation he put into preparing for a game and an opponent was crazy. So that was a dope experience, man. But going into it, they had, you checking the rankings every day. At that time it was draftscout.com or something like that. So I'm ranking, okay, I'm seeing where they putting Vontae, where they got Malcolm Jenkins, where they got Alfonso Smith, Sean Smith. Watching these guys, you're keeping up with it. But just focusing on the work, man, working out, being as best prepared as possible when it was time to show up at the combine. And that's the first time, okay, I get to size up, Vontae Davis, or I get to size up Malcolm Jenkins and look at this guy. Now we're performing on the same field. But going into the draft, I was mid first round to a high second. That's what my agent was telling me. A lot of teams told me. The Dolphins told me they were going to draft me at 25. But Vontae was there. He wasn't supposed to be there, still on the board. The Vikings at 22, they told me they was going to take me. Percy Harvin was there. He wasn't supposed to be on the board. So it was different teams that told me they were going to take me. The Patriots, they were high on me, and I ended up going to the Patriots in the second round. And it was stressful. It was a stressful time. But finally getting that call, man, that was a dream come true.
Wow. Yeah. So what was that experience like, knowing did the Patriots have that kind of stigma around the organization back then? I mean, because they were just kind of getting started a little bit when you were coming out. I mean,
they were dynasty at that point.
2009?
This was 09. So this was
09?
a year they had the undefeated season where they went and lost to the Giants in 07, I believe.
Okay, yeah.
And then 08, and that was the year that Brady got hurt. And then 09. So this was long hair Brady, fresh off the ACL. But they were, it's still the expectations were the same.
So was it like what people say? Like, was it like this just kind of, you got this drill sergeant and everybody else, like, it's all work, no play, no fun, no nothing, just straight work?
So, I mean, from what I came from at UConn, and as you know, in college programs, those are probably the toughest most militant programs. And you need that for 18 to 22-year-old kids, in my opinion. So Randy Elsa ran a tight ship, and I was used to kind of being a captain, kind of being in that with him, like as a leadership. So going into it, I wasn't tripping. It was as a pro, you get more lenience. They're not going to be chasing you down for missing the class or missing the meeting. Like, you're just going to get fined $10,000 or $15,000. So
right.
In Belichick, if you come in 2 minutes late, it could be a blizzard outside, which really happened my rookie year. He's sending your ass home. So it was a tight ship, but I was used to it. And coming in, being my first experience in NFL, you think like, this is how things are in the NFL. Intense practices, low lights, whether you win, whether you lose. Tom Brady being called out and being held to the same standard. Vince Wilfork, Randy Moss, Wes Welker, all these guys being held to the same standard as anybody else. And even as a college athlete, it would be times where I tell my coach, like, Coach, you can call me out in meetings, because Coach, you get to my position coach, and somebody be like, I don't want to put you on the spot, like, oh, Darius messed up. Like, nah, call me out in meetings so they see, like, I take correction and coaching as well. So that's important, especially with the dynamic in the pro level, because it changes, because Brady getting paid 20 plus a year, the coach is getting paid whatever. Those dynamics are different in these NFL locker rooms. So the ship that Belichick ran, definitely a tight militant ship, but coming in as a young guy, I thought that's just how it was. Yeah. It wasn't until I went to Carolina doing Rivera's rookie year as a head coach, and then I went to Indianapolis with Chuck Pagano's first tenure as a head coach, and then you see the difference on how things are ran. So it's definitely militant, and he crossed every T, dots every I. He makes sure everybody in that building is on point at all times, and I think that's very, very important. But it results in winning. So you deal with the shitty parts throughout the week, but jogging out that tunnel on Sunday, you have every expectation to win. Like, you feel like you're going to win every game unless something just goes completely awry.
And ultimately, that's when people say the Patriot way, all of that kind of goes into that whole thing.
That's it. It's doing your job, and it's 4 things on the door coming in, 4 things on the door going out, and then it's different little sayings and quotes around the building that your first couple of weeks in that building, Belichick he gonna test you on it. Hey, coming into the building, what's that first quote on the wall? Before you walk into the team meeting room, and you're like, shit, I don't know. He calling on anybody, so you got to. So after that first meet, you got to be on point. Hey, we know what college did Matt Light go to? I'm like, I don't know what school Matt Light went to. Like, oh, he's a 4-time Pro Bowler. He's your teammate. Get to know your teammates. So it was things like little things that didn't really make sense at first, but then in the grand scheme of things, you understand how much those little things matter. Knowing exactly the width between the hash marks, knowing exactly the width from the distance from the hash mark to the top of the numbers. How do we identify formations? Like, it was no guesswork in those type of things because everybody was speaking the same language. You had to know the difference between a trip set and a tray set. And a lot of places, You don't have to. Like a trip set, that means it's still a pro set. It's an X and a Z
Right.
on opposite sides, and it's trips. Tray, it's a slot set. All three of those on the same side. So when you in mid-game going over formation, you come to the sideline and tell your coach, hey, they weren't trade when they're doing this, boom, boom. You can have it, just makes that conversation so much smoother. And that's why they are and have been able to sustain the type of success that they have.
Man, that's great. So why was your stint there so short? Because typically for a guy that's a second round pick, you think you get like the entirety of your rookie contract.
For
but
sure.
your time there was kind of cut short. What kind of went into that?
Yeah, so part of it, so I came when I came there, it was kind of one of those funky times for the Patriots. They had they drafted me. After they drafted me, they traded Ellis Hobbs, and then they signed Sean Springs, who at that time was like a 13-year vet, I believe. Yep. Lee Biden, who was also like a 7-8-year vet. And then we had Will Hite, we had T. Wheatley, we had some other guys in the locker room as well, but it wasn't kind of like that fully, like our rooms wasn't like fully ingrained in the Patriot way, right? You go in that room when it's Devin McCourty, it's Patrick Chung, it's other guys who've been in that system and they run it a certain way. Everybody comes in there and they buy in. I wasn't fully bought in, honestly, because I came in my rookie year, and that rookie year is just so fast. I balled my rookie year. But, you got these other guys who we had a first-year DB coach, and Josh Boyer, who's now the D coordinator in Miami. B. Flo is the assistant DB coach, who's now the head coach in Miami for the Dolphins. And you got these older guys who've been in the league, and they've been around the block 10, 13 times. So it's like, and they're not on the same page with the coaches. So it's kind of like, man, they like, man, hey, D-Butt, hey, you nice, man. You're doing this. But Belichick, he want things done a certain way. And I kind of got, I guess, caught in between, trying to do things my way. And then as a player, especially the DB, once you get beat trying to do something that somebody else is telling you to do, it's like, damn, like, I got beat, but I could have, if I would have played it like how I wanted to play it, I could have did that. So I kind of got caught into that and wasn't fully bought in, honestly. And then that second year, I struggled early. And then they benched me. And then I honestly, I had struggles with my confidence at that point, which I had never had in my athletic career up until that point, like ever. And that's one of the things that I talk about now. I'm a consultant as well. So I consult some of these players in the league. And a lot of them, it's not until the league that you have to deal with failure. You know what I mean? Because these guys getting drafted first, second, third round, like these guys have probably been that guy since probably high school, little league maybe. So you never really dealt. Maybe you have a bad game, maybe a bad play, maybe a bad quarter, but you're not stringing together bad practices, bad games. Okay, now how do I deal with this? So it was some of that, losing confidence. And then got benched, had to deal with that as a high second round pick who's kind of local. I'm coming from Connecticut, so a lot of these people already kind of know. So it was a lot of things at play. And then got cut after my second year. Got cut again after my Carolina year. Now 1 year in Carolina, which we kind of struggled. And, at that point, they're going to have to make changes regardless of how you play individually. I had some crazy things going on off the field with my family. But then that third stint in Indy, that's when I kind of just had to buckle down and fully buy in, play at a different position, learn, be a better teammate, study harder, create more confidence, and just be a better leader. So everybody kind of goes through the same path, but that stint in New England, once you get in that doghouse, man, it's hard to get out.
I will say the one thing I want to kind of commend you on with that whole thing is just figuring it out, right? Like there are a lot of people that go through adversity, and I always feel like there's two. I tell my son, like, you can handle this one or two ways, like, and if you choose the wrong way, it's going to be a snowball effect of bad things happening. And it sounds like for you, it was like, man, I'm going through this adversity. I'm trying to figure it out. I done lost my confidence, but you didn't let that kick you out the league entirely, right? I mean, you went to another place, failed there in a sense, right? And it was just like, okay, I really got to figure this out. And then you went to a whole nother place. And, did you play nickel for the Colts as well?
Yeah, so once I got to the Colts, that's when I first played nickel. And I also say this about the failure thing, man. It's tough Now I was fortunate because I was a high draft pick, right? I go in the second round pick. So, like you said, you expected me just like everybody else to get at least the first 3-4 years out of that contract and then you move on. So for a guy to be cut after the second year, but so many people around the league still had that idea and still remember, okay, I remember that guy when he came out. So, Carolina, I got awarded to Carolina, but I got claimed by like 5-6 teams as soon as I hit the waivers. And I was rewarded to them because they had the worst record the year prior. And then after that happened, I got re-signed signed in Indy, where Ryan Grigson was there, and he remembered me from Philly. He was high on me when he was a scout in Philly. So I had those extra chances. And he told me when he set me down, if you can't work out here, we got Vontae was banged up at the time, Gerard Power was banged up, I think Justin King was banged up. He said, if you can't work out here, this may be your last stint. This may be it. So and he kept it a buck with me. So and I appreciate him for that. I tell him to this day. And so I had to figure it out. The guys around me, I got there with Antoine Bethea and Coach Gilhammer, just being in the right position. Chuck Pagano, we all worked together, man, and I fit, made something shake, man. But when I got there, it was like, hey, man, you got any, how to play in slot, you can play any slot, and I'm like, shit, yeah, I could play slot, I could play nickel. I had no experience prior to that, but like I said, I had to figure it out. So I played some outside, played some inside, and it helped me become a better overall football player. And then at this point, a better person, teach the game to younger players and other people in general.
Now, versatility is like, a big thing, and I always talk about that with guys coming out of college, being able to play outside, being able to play inside, and those are different positions. Like everybody looks at it like cornerback, but can you talk a little bit about maybe some of the challenges that nickel presents, maybe more so than what you kind of would face on the outside?
Yeah, so mentally playing the outside corner position in the NFL is probably the easiest position to play on defense, in the secondary at least. It's, you got either third, you're in the man, you're in a flat, quarter. Like, it's pretty straightforward, your assignment. Now, physically, to get it done, to match up across from D-Hop, Julio, Stephon Diggs, Keenan Allen, these guys, that's the tough part, actually doing it. Now, you go in nickel, it's more moving parts. Now you're replacing a linebacker in a sub package, so you gotta be involved in the run game to some extent. You got to know what the corners are doing. You got to know what the safeties are doing. You got to know what the backers are doing. Depending on the system, you got to know what the front is doing. You may be responsible for a gap. So it's different. That's the toughest part, the mental part of it. A lot of people think, you bring a young guy in, oh, he's a third corner roster, let's throw him in the slot. Nah, that's tough. Like I took it on me as a slot defender. Because I had all those things on my plate, I felt like I should be the primary communicator when I'm on the field, because I'm communicating to every position group damn near. So people will hear me. Now it didn't start on the field. It starts in the meeting room. When that clip comes up, hey, nickel left, nickel right. Hey, we doing this. We cover 4. If this motion go, we're going 3 by 1, we're going to 3, we're going 3. So just having these constant, second and 10, whatever, hey, alert, get back on track, blah, blah, blah. Just kind of always doing these things, going through those mental gymnastics, not only help me, but it helped the players around you. And that makes you, especially the slot defender, because you have to know where your help is. That outside corner, you got your help. That 12th man, that sideline's going to be your help. You may have a post safety, you may have a half safety. At the slot, you may have a corner that's your outside. You may have a linebacker. Who's going to be your help? But it's a lot of space and opportunity for that slot receiver and that quarterback as well. So physically it's tough. Mentally it's a lot tougher, just to be able to have to communicate with so many more people, and have to be involved with so much more, I would say, of the defensive game plan. That cornerback, you're a primary pass defender in the NFL. You are a secondary run defense, unless you're in some type of cover 2 with some condensed splits. Outside of that, you're secondary in the run game. So that's the biggest part of adjusting and being able to handle it, mentally between the ears.
And I think like a lot of your knowledge playing that position probably has that helped you in your kind of post-career going into media, breaking down everything on Everything DB, man-to-man pod. And I watch you break down stuff. And me, I've always been an outside guy. I ain't played no safety. I ain't played no nickel. I ain't do any of that. I've been an outside guy. And like you said, it's a lot more simple. I'm either in the cover one, a third or whatnot. And I know things like from a basic standpoint, but I was never the one in charge of communicating and having to get guys lined up and things like that. Do you think like, playing the nickel has kind of really helped you outside, like, in your post career?
Yeah, it helped tremendously, obviously, because I had been playing, outside corner, since college, coming into the league. And even in Indy, I play outside as well. But it definitely helps at this point because, like I said, I had to communicate with so many different people, different types of people, different learners. Like if I'm out there with Vontae Davis, it's completely different than playing the same coverage with Greg Toller or, Patrick Robinson or Gerard Powers. Like they're just different people, different strengths, different weaknesses, take communication differently. And then as you get reps with people, that's different as well. But on this side of things, I think it definitely helps me teach it, explain it, break it down, because once again, I had to be involved on a deeper level. I had to know different, like if I'm an outside corner, I don't have to know landmark of a curl flat dropper or a landmark of a hook curl dropper or what the middle read, where is he going based off the three, or the three, the number 3 receiver, the running back, or tight end, whoever. Didn't even know those things. I just had one. I had that guy. So it definitely helps on this side of things. And then obviously playing the different positions, and playing as long as I had to play for, because I had to teach it to younger guys. Or I had to tell a coach sometimes who had been stuck in his ways doing things. When you out, because my time in the league was a weird time as far as that slot position went. That's when the slot defender became more of a starter. Like he was more important than that, middle, first, second down linebacker. So it was a weird position. A lot of the teaching that we had to do, we had to kind of teach ourselves on the fly. So sometimes that would mean coach, we can't do that. We have to switch this off. We got to pass this off. They're running it different. Like Wes Welker and Peyton, they're not going to let you just run over and get up. They're going to run this perfectly to where we have to switch it off. So being in that position during that time in the league, a lot of it was looking at other guys, the Chris Harrises, the Darius Webbs, the Gerard Powers, the Casey Haywards, who were doing great in that slot, the Will Blackmans. And learning from those guys is just as much as the coaches. And now on this side of things, it helps me, I think, teach it not only to players, but fans who just want to be more educated on the game. So I got a Patreon page coming soon too. Just had a little call with them today. Everything DB will be coming to Patreon soon.
All right, and we're going to start to wrap this up, but we had a question right here. Did Darius ever pick off?
Real quick, Croc, let me get like 30 seconds before I answer this question.
Oh, go ahead.
I'll be right back. Appreciate you. Be right back.
While he's away, if you guys have any questions or anything that you guys want to, kind of get off or ask him, go ahead, put that in here. We're going to start to ask him some questions before we get him out of here. We've been on for 43 minutes right now. Aside from that, I hope you guys are enjoying this. Obviously, this is Darius Butler. Darius Butler he's on a few different platforms. Everything DB, which is is all him breaking down, film study, anything. So if you're really interested in like the film side of things, film study, all that good stuff, really wanting to understand more of the X's and O's, then he's your guy. That's Everything DB on Twitter. He has Everything DB on YouTube. So you guys make sure you guys check that out. He also has the Man to Man podcast with Antoine Bethea. Obviously, 49er fans, if you're in here, you're very familiar with Antoine Bethea. He spent some time playing safety with the 49ers, and he was with Darius Butler as well in Indianapolis playing for the Colts. So when he talks about some of these guys that he's played with and some of the experiences, that goes into that. So that's really cool to see. But we got him back here. Here we go.
Yes, sir.
All right. So you had a question right here. Did you ever pick off Andrew Luck in practice?
Man, my first, because I got to Indy and it probably had to be like week 3, maybe week 3, 4 of Luck's rookie season. And I probably picked Luck off probably 2-3 times in that first week. And he wouldn't get picked like that at all. Like, man, where did this dude come from? But me and Luck had some battles, man. But this practice, some days you're going to get the better of them, and other days they're going to get the better of you. But definitely picked Luck off a lot in practice. But the thing about Luck, though, because I picked Brady off in practice, picked Cam off in practice, the thing about Luck that was different is Luck always wanted to know how, why were you covering it that way? Why? And he made me a much better football player as well, just having those conversations with a quarterback as smart as him, who kind of had a photographic memory. Like if he saw something, he kind of didn't forget it. So he always wanted to know why. And those other two guys, Cam and Brady, they just wanted to talk trash, talk shit, and say, it'll never happen again, basically. The difference with Luck is he always wanted to know why.
That's what's up. All right, and then we have another question here. If you were a high schooler today, with the knowledge you have now, what position would you choose to play?
Ooh. Corner's still a good position. Receiver is getting easier to play in the NFL, but the receiver position is such a dependent position. So we've probably missed out on more great receivers than any other position out there, honestly, because you need a good O-line, you need a good quarterback that can get you the ball, you need a good play caller that can be creative and keep you open. Because as a defender, if we need to double a guy, like it's easy to double a receiver, especially if we know where he's going to be. So I would probably still say either corner or free safety. Because when I did get the free safety late in my career, I'm like, man, if I'd have made this switch a few years ago, I could have got it, probably 5-6 years back there at an elite level. So maybe free safety. I'll say free safety.
Free safety. All right. And now with you, again, not being the biggest of DBs, defensive backs, still, I think now more than ever, you don't have to be this big, physically imposing safety. Yeah. You can be a guy that's 5'10" and have those natural cover skills, and guys still see, the value in you playing that position. I kind of wanted to get into
space game. It's a space game now.
Right. No. I wanted to get into a little bit of what you're doing now, man. I see you everywhere, and I was kind of bringing it up while you were away for a second, but you got Everything DB where you're breaking down film, and I learned a lot from that. You got the Man-to-Man podcast with Antoine Bethea, and then I've been seeing you a lot lately on the Pat McAfee show. So how did that kind of? I know you were probably together in Indianapolis, but how did that whole thing kind of come about, and where are you trying to go with that?
Yeah, well, relationships, man. That's kind of everything, not only in life, but I think in business as well. And playing football, you understand the importance of relationships. And they served me well in my post career. So Pat McAfee, he's had a meteoric rise on the media side of things, especially, this type of media, like the digital, your own footprint, creating and building your own audience organically. He's had a ton of success. And we were friends in the locker room. We were friends in Indy, and we've kept in contact. And through his whole path, he would kind of bring me in and throw me alley hoops at times. Hey, you want to talk about this? You want to talk about that? Hey, we got this sports betting thing. Maybe you should get into this space. When he signed the different deals, I was privy to some conversations and things that were going on behind the scenes. So he helped me a lot on that side of things, because I dabbled in the TV thing as far as the big networks and did some auditions and things like that. But the thing about TV, at least on the big networks and mainstream, it's show business. So they want the things that's going to get the impressions, going to get the clicks. They want the pop of personality, or what they deem personality. And that was kind of the feedback that I was getting. And for me, I wanted to do something that I could be myself, that I could be authentic, that I wasn't pigeonholed into giving, 45-second answers on the things, and you kind of move on to the next topic. So went and started the podcast with Antoine, the Man-to-Man Pod. The Everything DB kind of grew legs once I started posting it, because I realized, a lot of people don't really talk about the defensive side of the ball like that, especially when it gets to breaking down and coverages. You watch people cover the games and the live analysts and things like that, and I always see them charging the wrong guy or saying this guy messed up, and I'm like, nah, that ain't right. So I'm like, let me just give more and it started kind of with live games. I saw Dan Orlovsky, once again, my former teammate at UConn, his rise through the media ranks, and he's kind of like one of the go-to guys for quarterbacks. So fans want to be more educated now more than ever. So once I put those videos out and saw the traction that it was gaining, I started doing everything DB to tap into not only the defensive side of the ball, but the secondary things and the conversations. And I did it more so for players, honestly, players and coaches alike, because I was fortunate to be coached by some great people: Chuck Pagano, Bill Belichick, Randy Edsall, Todd Orlando, the list goes on, Ron Rivera. So, just passing that free game along, and now it's not going to be as free because it's going to be on Patreon, the long, really dive in type videos, but I'll still be putting the other videos on Instagram, on Twitter. But yeah, I just want to honestly just keep creating my audience, and who knows, where this thing will go. I love doing the podcast thing, love interviewing players, current and former, love giving my, authentic, genuine reaction to things, my 2 cents on things. So, honestly, it's a lot going on in the media space, and it's a lot of change that's happening, going more to a digital type thing where people can seek out people and voices, like the people who are tapping into your show right now. Like, they like what Crocker says. They like your viewpoint on things. I'm sure they don't agree with everything, but they enjoy hearing your 2 cents on it. Whether it may be swag, it may be coverage, whatever it is, they enjoy your input on it. So you're creating and building that audience. So then maybe if a bigger network or somebody else wants to come in and work with you, now you have more negotiating power because you have that audience that you've built. And, so I'm kind of in the same place. I'm just continuing to build, getting a lot of reached out to by a lot of people, companies, things alike. So some things will be, some announcements will be made soon, but I'm just building. I want to continue to just be authentically myself, and, keep teaching and enjoying the game. I'm having fun with it, man. Everything DB, the Man-to-Man Pod, and then on my socials, just my name, Darius J. Butler.
All right, so a couple more questions. All right, then we get you out of here because we're approaching an hour.
Let's do it.
I got to ask this. All right. I understand the hardships of, like after your career, and kind of how, the money definitely isn't coming in the same way that it was when you were playing. You having a 9-year career. Me, I was with the Jets in 2013. Outside of that, I played in the Arena League, and I made decent money, but nothing too crazy, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So what's your advice to a lot of the younger dudes? I know you spoke about Deion Sanders and how Deion spoke to you guys about investing, and, you start, kind of hearing him talk about where, he'll put money and things like that. I think I've heard you talk, or actually I know I've seen you tweet about stocks and things like that. What advice do you have for?
I'm watching Bloomberg right now.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So where have those things, maybe what Deion Sanders said, or how'd you kind of get into that, like paying attention to stocks and figuring out different ways to, have different revenue streams of money?
Yeah. So I was fortunate, and I always go back to my family. My mom's, she's been in real estate for 25 years. She's owned her business. She's a CPA. She's worked all type of different things. So I always kind of, not always, but I've seen the business side of things and the understanding the importance of it. And honestly, it wasn't so much Deion actually talking. When you said that again, it wasn't so much of him talking about investing and being good with his money. It was more so us just seeing it. And because you have this idea of like, dang, Deion, he made X amount of money. He's got to be worth this or that, but he's living a lifestyle like this. So why the hell? I remember vividly walking into a locker room one time, with a nice chain on, some money I done spent. And then one of the guys looking at like, dang, like, let me see that. Man, I wish I could do that. And I'm like, I'm making, 1.2 this year. This dude making 8. And he talking about he wish he could. I must not be doing something right. So my advice to guys, honestly, would be to educate yourself as much as possible about how money really works. Because when that money's coming in so much and so fast, and us being wired the way that we are as athletes, we're wired to think about that day, that practice, that game, that season. But we're not wired to think about 2, 3, 10, 20 years from now. So when you get that money in your pocket, 21, 22 years old, it's hard to see 35 and that money not generating, that money not making the same. You're having different expenses, a certain lifestyle you want to live. So I would say educate yourself as much as possible on money. And I always tell the guys that I talk to, man, you got to read. You got to read, man. I hated reading, but you have to read, even if it's just articles. What type of pages are you following to be informed? And then the earlier you start to do that, and you start to see how business and money really operates, You'll be better suited in your post-career. You're still going to have to go through. You're going to make your own mistakes. Seek out a veteran in that locker room who's been in it, who's probably opened some businesses, probably failed some, probably done great in others. Ask those type of questions. I didn't have those type of conversations enough in the locker room, honestly, because most of the people we talk to, they don't really figure it out financially, honestly, until like year 7 and 8. And if you think about pro football or basketball, Rudy Gay said the same thing. But like, how many of us last till year 7 and 8 in the National Football League or the NBA? So figure it out sooner, have those conversations sooner. And once you start seeing it, man, just the things that you learn in sports and pro sports, as far as discipline, as far as the grind, all those things translate into the real world and the normal world more than we give it credit for. So, take advantage of that. We got some good questions though, man. I want to knock out a couple more if we can.
Yeah, right here. What was your backup plan if football didn't work out?
I ain't gonna lie, I ain't have a backup plan. I didn't have one. I'm not even gonna lie to you and blow smoke up anybody's. That was my plan A, B, and C. And like I said, I had a great support system at home. I had a college education. I got my degree. So I was, if I didn't make it, I would have figured something out. But I had tunnel vision from probably 15 years old of what I wanted to do and what I wanted to be. And fortunately enough, it worked out.
Yeah. All right. And then what did you see that made Brady who Brady is on Sundays? What did he do in practice that set him apart? And maybe I don't want to put anybody else on the spot, so I won't compare him to anybody else, but just Brady, what made him who he is?
First of all, and everybody's an ultimate competitor, right? You're not out there, you don't get to that level without being there. Right. But he was like, it was different. It was different because some people, once you get a certain contract or you get a certain status, you get complacent. Brady was never complacent, always in the front of the meeting room, taking notes, always coachable, always learning. But once he hit that field, his focus, his attention to detail, the leadership, and then that confidence kind of it just permeates throughout that locker room, into the coaches, into the players. Everybody knows, okay, I got to be playing on that level, or I'm not doing something right. So, or the game-winning touchdown in the Super Bowl. So when you have that type of energy, that goes throughout the locker room and team, fan base, and everybody included.
That's dope.
Special guy.
Yeah, and earlier you talked about how he got coached up just as much as anybody else. So I think having your leader be able to kind of take that type of coaching, and then you see how he, took that and how he utilized everything, whether it's from practice, whether it was the games, like you talked about, whether he's up in a late score happens, still up 3 touchdowns, but he still has his foot on the pedal, man. But Darius, man, I appreciate you coming on here. I appreciate you rapping with me for an hour long. One more time, tell everybody where they can find you real quick.
All right, so the socials, I'm pretty active on social, especially Twitter, at Darius J. Butler. That's my Twitter and Instagram. And then I believe the Twitter for Everything DB is everything_DB, and Everything DB Show on Instagram. And then all those, the Everything DB Show. And we got one more, The Man to Man Pod with Antoine Bethea. So all those things are on YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter, man. And I got a Patreon coming soon with Everything DB. It's going to be breakdowns. It's going to be live streams. So we'll literally hop on for an hour and we're going to watch film together. You know what I mean? So like, hey, maybe the 49ers versus whoever. Hey, let's tap it. Let's watch this fourth quarter. What were they doing? And so it's going to be things like that, and then some exclusive deal and some merch I'm going to be pushing out as well. So looking forward to continue to engage with you guys, man. I appreciate you having me on too, Croc, man. You're one of my favorite follows. Another guy that know what the hell he's talking about, especially when it comes to that secondary play. So and my camera tapped out, but I appreciate you.
All right, I appreciate you having me on. All right, everybody, that's Darius Butler right there. I appreciate you guys coming in. Obviously, this will be loaded to Spotify. I'm trying to get Apple on, man. I don't know what Apple's doing right now, but we're going to get Apple locked in so I can get these podcasts on that network. But that's going to do it for today's episode of Croc Talk TV. I appreciate y'all checking in. I'm going to see y'all next time. Peace.